What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake MLB DFS Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and of course, I'm from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out. Day pass is available if you want to try us out. That being said, if you're new to this channel, welcome. You come to the right place for some free fire DFS content. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the free content we put out. Right now, covering MLB slates Monday through Friday, meaning we stream Sunday night through Thursday night with our first look. And this is the first show of the week. So let's start the week off right, shall we? We've got ourselves a little six-game slate. It's a smaller one. There's a benefit to these. There's a benefit to massive slates. Massive slate benefit is you don't have to, there's plenty of low-owned pivots, right? Plenty of low-owned pivots. The downside is that there's so many damn options, right? So on the small slates, we've got less options, which is cool. You know, looking at it half full, we narrowed down some options. The other benefit is the chalk is typically more concentrated. So you could really, really get an edge if you are right on avoiding a certain piece of chalk. Cartoons and cereal. What's up, man? Welcome to the Wise Stream. Gotta love pitching against Rangers. Yes. We will discuss that. Welcome, though, man. I appreciate you coming by and checking us out. So yeah, one of the benefits is the ownership is concentrated. Makes it a little bit easier to get a little different if that's your thing, which if you're playing tournaments, it should be. And there's still options. It's not like it's a 2 or 3 game slate, right? So 6 games is definitely a nice little market for it, a nice little sweet spot for it. But it depends at the end of the day on the slate itself, and this one in particular is depending on how you feel, kind of ugly. And I say kind of ugly because we've got a couple good pitchers, one really good pitcher in Yu Darvish, but in very tough matchups, right? Urias is against the Padres, while Darvish is against the Dodgers, right? Tyler Mahle is like 9,800. He's been good this year, and we're going to look at that in a second. But does anybody want to pay $9,800 for Tyler Mahle? Well, let's take a look. Start off with our top pitchers, as we always do. Yu Darvish, like we said, some of the best numbers you'll see on this slate. 29.3% K rate, 3.46 Sierra, and he does have a 3.94 xFIP, which is actually higher than Mahle's, Urias, Alzolay, quite a few people. That's interesting. Big fly ball guy, but he's playing the Dodgers, right? One of the best offenses in the game. And why do I say that about the Dodgers? Because they're second in WRC plus against righties. They have a 171 ISO, a low 21.8% K rate. But on a normal, on some situations, you would think, Yu Darvish at this price is going to be chalk on a slate like this. But against the Dodgers, will he be? I don't necessarily think so. Because I think we have, I think Frankie Montas, who Cartoons and Cereal kind of alluded to against the Rangers, will take a lot of that. Tyler Mahle against the Twins may even take some of that. So interested to see Yu Darvish, who is the most talented pitcher in my opinion on the slate. Curious to see where his ownership goes. Pat Bush, what's happening, bro? Good to see you. How was your weekend? My weekend was good, man. We were really good, man. Celebrated my first Father's Day as a father. That was cool. The wife made a man-sized breakfast, right? Eggs, pancakes, cinnamon buns, bacon. Got some cool gifts. Cool little bracelet with my daughter's name on it. Double monitor I haven't set up yet. Some new Ray-Ban aviators, all black, because that's just what I like to do. some of my favorite cologne that I haven't had in months because I just won't get it. In years, I just won't get it. You know, the wife took care of it. She did good. So my weekend was phenomenal. And shout out to all the fathers out there. Shout out to all y'all. And much appreciated. Pat Bush, Cartoons and Cereal, I appreciate it. Thank you. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hopefully you enjoyed yours as much as I enjoyed mine, or even more. Okay, back to business. So that's what we're doing with Darvish. Tyler Mahle. Do you want to pay 9.8 for Tyler Mahle? Probably not. But his numbers are phenomenal. 3.55 xFIP, 3.47 Sierra, 29.6% K rate. If we take a look at Minnesota and where they rank in all this, against righties, 100 WRC plus, and you have a 180 ISO. 23% K rate isn't massive, but it's not terrible. So I'd say it's a mediocre matchup. Now, this is a huge park boost for him. Keep that in mind. This game's in Minnesota. He pitches a lot in Cincinnati. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, I definitely in play. Frankie Montas. I think Montas will be popular. I just don't know how much more popular than some of the other options, but I think Montas would definitely be one of the highest on pitchers, right? His numbers are solid, 24.2% K rate, but an xFIP in Sierra under 4. And he's playing Texas, right? So from a matchup perspective, it's one of the best ones you can find. 89 WRC plus, 298 WOBA, 146 ISO, and a 25.20% K rate against righties for the Texas Rangers. Ooh, I like this. Sangam Patel says, so how's the sticky stuff enforcement going to affect the over-under starting tomorrow? I like that, man. No. My man, we've been talking, not about over and unders, but we've been talking about the sticky stuff. Right, we're seeing Milwaukee's gotten hit pretty hard with spin rate drops. Now, I'm speculating, right? But we've seen the spin rates drop for Woodruff and Corbin Burns. So it's going to have an impact. I think we will see some of these games go. At the end of the day, like Garrett Cole, right? Like, he had a good game against Toronto. Was he as dominant as he normally was? No. But he did have a good game. Right, he did go out there and pitch well, put up a good DraftKings score. I'm very interested to see how this sticky stuff enforcement is going to affect the games in general. In theory, if you're lowering spin rates because you're not allowing players, and I do believe a lot of players are going to be. You're going to see that we're using this. Right, this is not just Garrett Cole, just Bauer, like. A good secret is just not going to be kept a secret for too long, right? So it was already around. And like, listen, it's the same thing. Like, in my opinion, it's very similar to the steroids deal. Obviously, both are illegal. Both are performance enhancing. But you still need skill to make it work. If Elvis Andrus took steroids, he's not doing what Barry Bonds did on steroids, right? Because there is a certain genetic factor. There is a certain talent factor that goes into. You still got to be good. Steroids aren't going to make you all of a sudden good. They're just probably going to make you better than what you were before. And if you already were good, and then so same shit with the sticky shit, right? Garrett Cole was already a decent pitcher, so him using that shit is going to make him better, really good, right? Him not using it, he's probably still going to be a decent pitcher. Maybe not just as dominant, right? So the question is in DFS, do we hesitate before we spend up on pitching? Because we're paying for, a Jacob deGrom performance. I don't want to use his name because I really don't believe he's doing it. His spin rate's not even high. But, okay, so Garrett Cole, we'll stick with him. If you pay for a Garrett Cole, are you getting the Garrett Cole you're paying for? Or are you getting basically, a Charlie Morton? And listen, I think Garrett Cole is a very good pitcher with or without the sticky shit. I'm just saying, like, Charlie Morton is a guy who may use it, but say he doesn't use it. This season, he's been under 8K, right? So do you take those chances is basically what I'm getting at. I'm not comparing Morton to Cole on a real level. Just saying from a pricing example. But it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. It's definitely going to be something that I think will have some sort of effect. And we're going to see it. And I think, for me personally, it'll make DFS fun. Like, MLB DFS, man, is like, when you get those slates where there's nobody's doing none, and there's like it's like watching paint dry. You're looking at your scores, it's like watching paint dry. You put on the game, you're trying to watch your own dude hit a home run. You can't get through a couple pitches, right? Because it's just everything just gets slow sometimes. But I think it's good for the game. It'll be fun for DFS. What I'm not excited about is I think that we're gonna see more situations like we saw with Glass now. I think there are so many pitchers that are using that shit, and when they're told they can't use it, I'm concerned we're gonna see more and more people get hurt. So that's the downside. I've rostered pitchers, and this is probably coincidental, but I've rostered pitchers the last, I think at the last 5 days, I've had at least 3 pitchers who left early with an injury. Austin Gomber was one. I can't think of the other one, but I guarantee that there's been about 3 out of the last 5 days where I rostered a pitcher who left. Obviously Jacob deGrom was one, but just in general. So something to consider. I know I went on a tangent there, sang him. Really good point though, man. I've been talking about this last few shows we did. We kind of cooled off the end of the week because I was kind of pounding it in, but it's a good point because now they're starting to enforce it. So definitely a good point. All right, back to the top pitchers. So yeah, expect Montas to be popular against the Rangers. Urias, whatever. Again, his numbers are phenomenal. 3.45 xFIP, 3.39 Sierra, 26.9% K rate is respectable. Now this is interesting. The Padres, I think Darvish is a better pitcher right now, but the Padres are the better matchup for a lefty. Padres have a 90 WRC plus, a 296 WOBA, a 134 ISO. That's pretty weak for a team that's stacked up like them, but only a 22.7% K rate. So there's still concerns. And it's the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Well, Cartoons and Serious says DeGrom didn't even look hurt. Not sure what happened there. Supposedly it was on the swing, which I do think like enough of the pitch is hidden. Just enough. It's just they're practicing so much on pitching. None of these guys are really practicing hitting, and they shouldn't have to. They should be focusing on pitching. The game's hard enough. I think that it's make the game more exciting to have another DH. And listen, I love rostering NL pitchers, right? Because we get that pitcher spot coming up. But I personally think it's ridiculous. Saying Patel, no more 13K outings. I think minor leaguers have been brought to show and prep for injury suspension. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I do think we should definitely see strikeouts go down. When guys stop using that shit, that's what happened in Nicole, right? Strikeouts don't look so dominant no more. If you're lowering your spin rate, that means the ball's not going to move as much. The hitter has a better chance of making contact. James Cox says, do you think Arizona-Milwaukee game is a game to target based off the terrible pitching, aside from Anderson's last game? I do. We will get there for sure. I think I like the D-back side a little bit more, but we will certainly discuss that spot. They're in a couple of the segments coming up. Appreciate the comment, James. So yeah, Urias is definitely an option. I don't think it'd be too popular. He never really is. People don't trust Dodger pitching because of the pitch limitations and all that, rightfully so. People like the Padres, but in reality, we just looked at it. Padres have not been good against lefties. Adbert Alzolay. We have winds blowing in Wrigley as of now. It's currently 11:17 p.m. Eastern, so that shit obviously could change in a heartbeat. But as of right now, the wind is blowing in. Cleveland, we just saw Brubaker on a Sunday slate have a really good game against these guys. I'm not right out the gate. 8-9 on DraftKings seemed a little fishy, but we know that Alzolay has some strikeout stuff. We know Cleveland is not a good offense. What scares me a little bit though is the 22.5% K rate. They really are pesky when it comes to strikeouts. And I know Brubaker did what he did. I believe that J-Ram wasn't playing. Not that one player is going to make that big of a difference necessarily, but they got a lot of guys with low strikeout rates. Wind blowing in though. You tell me. And in cash games, I think he will be popular because as of right now, again, it could change. As of right now, the Indians were implied via line makers for like 3.4 runs, which has got to be one of the lowest on the slate. Last but not least, for this top pitcher section, I got to talk about him is Jake Odorizzi. Interesting situation. I was going to put him in a what to watch, but I do think he's going to end up getting ownership in tournaments, so I wanted to make sure we touched on him here under the top pitchers. So ERA is 5.68. XFIP is 4.09. Sierra is really not bad, 3.99. Not great, but he was coming back from an injury, kind of waiting for him to work out. The numbers are starting to look a little better. 24.8% K rate's not bad. BABIP is low, so that's a little scary to know that he's got some potential batted ball regression coming. That's never fun. And he's a fly ball pitcher, always has been. 40.8% fly ball rate. Thing is, okay, the park is terrible. It's Baltimore. Very hitter-friendly park. We know that. Thing is, Baltimore themselves, and I'll start off here, as good as Baltimore is against lefties, 21.3% K rate, 181 ISO, 343 WOBA, 119 WRC plus. They're like, and we're talking about the third highest WRC plus against lefties. They are almost just as bad against righties. An 84 WRC plus. Looks like they're the fifth worst, something like that. If that's a word. 290 WOBA, 152 ISO, 25.1% K rate for Baltimore against righties. So this is actually, I mean, if there was a spot for Odorizzi to have a good game in the stretch of this, him coming back bullshit, figuring it out, you would think this could be the spot. Now, his price is 5.9 on DraftKings, so I do think that people in tournaments will look to come here to save some money. I do think we'll see that, and I understand it. Always some risk, but I understand it. Top offenses. There were three offenses that stood out to me the most. One is going to be the Houston Astros against Keegan Aiken. Aiken's XFIP and Sierra are better than his ERA, but they're not good. 41% fly ball rate. And this game's in Baltimore. Big park boost for Houston. Houston currently second in WRC plus against lefties, 123. A 343 WOBA, 170 ISO. 17.5% K rate. They're going to put the ball in play. So expect Houston to be your main offensive chalk. But for good reason. They're in a really good spot. What else? The Reds against J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ, probably the worst pitcher on this slate right now. Right? You look at those numbers and you tell me, right? It looks like he's pretty much the worst pitcher on the slate. Playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati has not been as good against lefties. Matter of fact, they've been pretty bad. 89 WRC plus 304 WOBA, 167 ISO, 23.7% K rate. But J.A. Happ is terrible. This game's in Minnesota. It's not as good of a park as it would be in the Great American Ballpark or a small park, whatever. Right? We have to acknowledge that. I do acknowledge that. But expect Cincinnati to get some love. Expect Cincinnati to get a fair amount of ownership. Last but not least, and Sean V, I am going to talk about Kyle Gibson and the things to watch segment. I don't think it's totally wrong, but we got some concerns we want to address, Sean, with Kyle Gibson. The D-backs. I know, who was it? Who was my guy up here that said, Mr. James Cox, talking about the Arizona Milwaukee. Milwaukee I'll talk about and the things to watch, but I do like the D-backs. Again, this is a first look, right? So we're just going off these numbers of what stands out. And if we look at Mr. Brett Anderson, a 14.6% K rate, the lowest on a slate. The XFIP and Sierra aren't the worst, but they're not good, right? He does have a ground ball rate, 54%, that's solid. But a 39% hard contact rate, highest on the slate. And they're playing Arizona, who, as bad as they have been off record-wise, they've been decent against lefties. A 101 WRC plus isn't anything flashy, but a 184 ISO and only a 21.7% K rate. They're going to put the ball in play. We'll see if the roof is open or not. Probably not, because it's probably hot as all hell in Phoenix right now. But, I think that the D-backs are definitely in play. Ketel Marte's back. There are dirties waiting to be done. But those are the three offenses that stood out to me like right away. So I anticipate those offenses to kind of get the most love ownership-wise, but for good reason, right? Things to watch. So Aaron Savale on the other side of that game. I'm not a big Savale guy. I'm just not a fan. But the winds are blowing in. He's playing the Cubs, who are a good offense. One of the better teams in the NL. And I don't think this game. I don't think the Cubs offense will be that popular. I don't think Savali will be that popular. So you're just kind of wondering, what it's going to be. Now, here's the thing. The Cubs do have a 25.7% K rate against righties. They do have a 176 ISO, which isn't bad, but at 93 WRC plus, a 304 WOBA, nothing special, 25.7% K rate. Wind's blowing in. We'll see what wins that way. Kyle Gibson is very cheap. Kyle Gibson is playing Oakland. I think Oakland is a pretty good offense. This park is a pitching park, but Oakland's kind of used to that. Oakland currently has a 105 WRC plus, 316 WOBA, a 175 ISO, and a 23.3% K rate. Kind of right on the, blah side. Kyle Gibson, as good as he's been with a 2.09 ERA, there's some warning signs, right? His xFIP and Sierra almost double. K rate is down from what he's produced in the past at 19.9%. 244 BABIP tells us there is regression coming at some point, right? League average is around 300. Ground ball rate's good. Hard contact rate's not terrible. So I think I totally understand people wanting to play Gibson. The park isn't great. Is the spot good enough to go after an A's offense? At low ownership, they will be low owned. Is this the right spot? I don't know. But I think that he's going to get some attention. And I think that ERA, xFIP, he's got regression coming at some point. Doesn't mean it's going to happen today. It's a long season. Doesn't mean it's going to happen today. But there's some warning signs. But he's 6,300. We'll see which way that rolls. Sean V, that's for you. I was going to talk about it already. I didn't even know what to watch, but I appreciate the comment. Meryl Kelly against Milwaukee. Going back to James Cox. See, I told you we was going to address this game a couple times. Merrill Kelly, I don't think is very good, but his xFIP and Sierra are better than his ERA implies. He's playing Milwaukee. For anyone who believes in the Coors effect, if you don't know what the Coors effect is, you could ask my man Patty Ojo, who's all about it. A lot of people have seen that there's a tendency of players offensively starting off slow their first game outside of Coors. Due to the altitude, whatever you want to put it, adjusting to regular sea levels, I guess, or whatever. Which the altitude part, that shit's real. I mean, right? That's why Coors is what it is, because the thin air. They're up in the mountains. But some people are willing to play pitchers they would normally play, or at least avoid offenses that they would normally like if it's their first game out of Coors. And that's the situation that Milwaukee's in. They are in Arizona, which is another kind of, dry heat kind of deal, but not nearly as much as Coors. I don't really pay too much attention to that. Sometimes, if I think two offenses are really close, maybe I'll pick the one that's not, just to give me a reason to make a decision, because they're just really close. But I'm not too big on that. But Meryl Kelly has had decent games in the past, and he's 7-4. And it happens to be Milwaukee, who has the third lowest. Actually, it's tied for the second to last with Arizona, mind you. And again, Arizona faces a lefty. That's why we like them. 81 WRC plus, 288 WOBA, 147 ISO, and a 25.8% K rate. Milwaukee, one of the worst offenses out there against righties right now. And you could argue the Coors effect. I'm just not a Merrill Kelly guy. But I'll throw that out there. Cartoons and cereal. Damn, that's just too much thinking. Hey, man. That's the name of the game, man. You look for an edge any way you can get when you grind this every day. That's what we got to do. Right? Dong watch, and then I'm out of here, guys. Picking home runs. I try to do an infielder, outfielder, and then I do a wild card. It doesn't matter. Number one, Carlos Correa. I'm going to take an Astro. They're going to be chalky. I don't know how much of them I'll play. I do write a Core Plays article for anyone interested at WiseTake.com. I write that 6 days a week. Sunday. I go Monday through Saturday. And I will write it after I've done my research and all that kind of shit. I kind of throw together the offenses I settle on. I separated by popular, the chalkier offenses I like, the lower owned ones I like. I discuss cash game pitching, tournament pitching. We put some of these charts in there. So that you can get the final takes there. But I'm going Carlos Correa, number one, in the Dong Watch on the first look. Nick Castellanos as the outfielder against Shea Happ. He's been a lefty master during his career. his time with Detroit, man, that whole team was lefty masher. Not these days. You look at Detroit's numbers against lefty these days, and part of it's because they don't have players like him anymore. But I'll go Castellanos. Last, I'll go Ketel Marte. I'm a big Ketel Marte guy. I think he's really good. That's not a hot take. He's fucking good. But really good against lefties. At least he has been in the past. And this season, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know in the past he was one of the reasons that the D-backs have been so good against lefties. I'll go Ketel Marte as the wild card against Brent Anderson. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for this edition of the Wise Stream. I appreciate those of you hanging out with me live. Had a little bit of a bigger turnout than used to, man. I love the feedback. I love the chat moving, man. I appreciate y'all. Enjoy interacting with you guys. So thank you for taking the time. And if you're watching this after the fact, leave me your comments, man. I want to hear back from you guys. I want to hear what you think of the slate. Get some interaction going. We do pride ourselves on being a community here. In order for this to be a community, we need some communication from y'all. So leave some comments. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe. Pat Bush, I appreciate you, man. You've been killing it. And for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.